Today's video is going to be all about the newest fragrances in my collection. So if that's your type of thing, then please keep on watching. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if it's the first time you are joining. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Hayley and I review fragrances. So as I already mentioned in the intro, I thought it would be fun to share with you my newest fragrances within my collection. So without further ado, let's jump into the first fragrance. The first fragrance is Bleu Lazuli, and this one is by Armani, the Prive line. And I have wanted to add another one of these to my collection for the longest time. I have Magenta Tanzanite. I'm not a huge fan of Rouge Malachite, and I like some of the others in the collection, but a really good deal came up on this one. So I've only had this one in my collection less than a week. I've only sprayed it once to sample, and I must say I am very, very happy with my purchase. This is a beautiful honeyed tobacco fragrance. It has a really unique DNA to it. It's very, very hard to explain. It's not what I expected given the color of the bottle. I knew what I was getting myself into because I had read the notes. But yeah, it's a really beautiful fragrance. I do need some time to play around with it a little bit longer, but I thought I would show you what I have added into my collection. I do need to play around with this a little bit more before I can give my first impressions. Next up, I have the newest release from Atelier Materi. Now this one only landed with me yesterday, so very much still a first impressions, but I made my husband wear this one yesterday, and I also wore it just on my hand so I could test how it smelled on both of our skin chemistries. And this is a really unique composition. It's fresh, it's a little bit milky, it's woody, and it also has this vegetal vibe to it. Please do not let that put you off, because this is such a gorgeous, fresh fragrance that I feel like so many of you are going to love. It has two different types of fig in here. So you have fig leaf and fig milk or fig nectar. And then you get the cedarwood, as the name would suggest. There's a bright citrus up top, giving it a sweetness. And then the greenness that comes from it, which I'm going to explain as vegetal. However, this just smells like a fig has been plucked directly from the tree, leaves and all, and you're getting that greenness from this being freshly plucked from the tree. It's such a unique scent. Very, very enjoyable. I need to play around with this one a little bit more, but I love how milky this is, yet at the same time it's fresh, it's green, it's a little bit woody. I would say this would be most appropriate for the spring and the summer. I'm sure there's going to be comments asking, does it smell like Gris Chanel by BDK, just because it's got fig in there and the woody vibe, but I don't think so at all. This is more milky, it's sweeter for sure. There's a beautiful sweetness that comes through, lots of cedarwood, and obviously in BDK's Gris Chanel it has sandalwood. I just think this is a really lovely fragrance. Still first impressions, I need to test it a little bit more, but let me know your thoughts on this one. Do the notes stand out to you, and are you going to sample it? Next up, we have Parfum de Marly Althair, and I have wanted this fragrance for a while, and I was very, very lucky to receive this one in PR. I was actually invited to a Parfum de Marly event in London. I couldn't attend because unfortunately, I still haven't recovered. I am pretty ill. But I'm just getting on with things and filming. I couldn't attend the event. I was really, really gutted. And they still sent me through a fragrance, which I thought was really, really sweet. And I have wanted Althair for the longest time. I was going to buy it soon anyway, but then it came through in the post. And I am so, so glad, because I think this is such an incredible fragrance from Parfum de Marly. One of the best in my opinion. This one is totally unisex. It could have easily been in one of the feminine bottles. I have been wearing this quite a lot recently. It is such a soft vanilla fragrance that's got a slight woody, musky vibe to it. A little bit of a floral touch coming from the orange blossom. And I just find this so easy to wear. It's along the lines of Louboutin's Louis Rouge to me. However, this one is stronger and packs more of a punch in my opinion, but they're in a similar type of category. I think this is such a good new release. I know there have been some mixed opinions. I guess people maybe wanted a stronger vanillic hit from it, but I think it's perfect, to be quite honest with you. This is the smaller size bottle. I believe it's a 75 ml. Yes, it is. And This is more than enough for now. I will probably use this bottle quite quickly and then upgrade to the bigger size, but I am so glad to have this in my collection and so grateful to have been sent it for review. But please do let me know if you want a more in-depth review of this one. I am going to feature it more in future videos to come because I really do love it. But yes, this one is such a good new release in my opinion. The next new fragrance in my collection is from Unique Luxury, and this one is called Crush on Me. Now this is for those of you that like a caramel fragrance but want something with depth, because this is not a caramel gourmand fragrance as you know it. This one has real intensity, incredibly longevity. It is super, super loud. You are going to be noticed wearing this one. 2 sprays is more than enough on me. Honestly, it's one of the strongest fragrances within my collection. Still very new. I've had this one for about 2 weeks now, and this packs a punch, as I've already said. Wow, I couldn't get the lid off there. This smells like burnt caramel. You get a real sweetness from it, but then you've got this really deep, dark patchouli note. It's really, really unique. I don't have anything that smells quite like this. The juxtaposition between that earthy, dark patchouli and the sweet yet sticky, almost burnt caramel is really, really interesting. You have to like sweet fragrances, yet at the same time you need to like something dark and earthy. I'd go as far to say that this is maybe a slightly more masculine caramel fragrance. But if you liked Kjale's Vanilla Royale and you wanted something that was a little bit more deep and dark, that packed more of a punch, this might be something that you would want to sample. I'm definitely going to try this a little bit more in the future. My husband has worn this one. My husband loves this one. I think it smells incredible on him. And yeah, this is a super strong fragrance and I can't wait to try more from Unique Luxury. But yeah, do let me know if you have tried Unique Luxury before, and if so, what are your favorites from the brand? I have a new fragrance from Micallef, and this one only arrived this morning, so bear with me. This is more just showing you the newest fragrances within my collection, not so much in-depth reviews, but because this is really new, I thought I would include it in this video. And I have sprayed it on paper only. I have not worn this one on my skin yet, so I just want to caveat that. Now, my first impressions of smelling this is a white floral fragrance. I don't even know the notes, but I would guess that this has orange blossom, neroli, those types of notes. Maybe some kind of marshmallowy vibe. It's definitely got a sweetness in here. If you imagine the scent profiles of something like Love Don't Be Shy, Memo's Sintra, Ormond Jane's Levant, this has a very similar DNA, although I would say the florals in here smell more realistic than the fragrances that I've just mentioned. It's not overly sweet. There's definitely a greenness that pulls it back from being overly sweet and gourmand. I personally find Kilian's Love Don't Be Shy to be a little bit too sweet for my taste, but I do love Memo's Sintra as an example. I love Ormond Jane's Levant, and this almost gave me a similar vibe as Kilian Princess. I don't want to go too much into this right now because, of course, I've not sampled it properly. I've not worn it on the skin, but it feels to have some kind of musky vanilla in the base too. So please do let me know if you want to hear more about this fragrance. I would be more than happy to review this in the future. But this was such a nice surprise to land at my doorstep today. It arrived at 8 a.m. I was like, who is knocking on my door? And it was the delivery driver. So I thought, why not include it in today's video? The next fragrance I told you I was going to add into my collection, and it is from Mind Games, and this one is called Queening. So I had their discovery set and fell in love with Queening. This fragrance truly stole my heart. I have worn my whole 7.5 ml atomizer and I had to get Queening. This is the most beautiful vanilla fragrance that has a little bit of rum in here too, a buttery yet earthy orris note. It is quite soft and sensual. The vanilla in here is not super sweet or too gourmand. There's definitely a sweetness here, but I just absolutely love this DNA so much. It's not the loudest fragrance by any means. It has medium longevity and medium projection, but the DNA of this, it has me swooning. I absolutely love it. It's a little bit of an obsession at the moment. Yeah, I just think this is such a good vanilla. There's a little bit of saffron, a little bit of rum, as I said, and an orris note. So special. I know some of you commented that you've also tried queening when I last mentioned this one, and I would love to hear again if anyone else has tried it. But I am super impressed with this fragrance. Wow, it's reflective. I can just see it on the screen. But yeah, vanilla fragrance of dreams, honestly. At the moment, it's got to be my favorite, if not one of my favorite vanillas in my collection. Next up is Black Dragon by Byron, and this is such an underrated gem. One of my favorites from Byron, if not my favorite fragrance. And I have such a connection with this. It might be because I've just finished reading Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, which is a book that features dragons. One of the best book series that I have read ever. Anyway, I won't go into that, but there is a black dragon in that book series, so I had to mention it. Anyway, this in essence is a tobacco and honey fragrance, but it is incredibly special to my nose. I think this is such a gorgeous scent profile, exactly the type of fragrance that I adore wearing. I've always loved a combination of tobacco and honey, and the honey in here is perfectly sweet but not cloying or overbearing. I think it's done so well. But then you've also got some mango and pineapple, which is so interesting when you contrast it against the tobacco. There's lots of vanilla and lots of musk too. You've got a little bit of amber and you've got some sandalwood. And I just feel like this is such an underrated gem from Byron. I would love to know if any of you have sampled this one. It's not one that I hear spoken about a lot. I think obviously Mula Mula is super popular, as is the Chronic. But if you can get a sample of Black Dragon and you like the sound of the notes, I would highly recommend you do so, because I truly feel like this is such an underrated gem. The next fragrance is Tramonte. And this fragrance I sampled before getting a full bottle, and it was my favorite from the brand because it gave me a similar vibe to one of my favorite fragrances, which is Xerjoff Bouquet Adile. And this has a similar vibe, although I would say this one is stronger and a little less sweet. You get a lot more of the spice, so I'm getting lots of nutmeg from this composition. And then you get the cedar, you get the vanilla, there's some incense in here that gives it a smokiness. There's some slight citruses in the opening, but it's the sweetness from the vanilla and the nutmeg that's giving me an almost similar vibe to Bouquet Adile, but it doesn't have that kind of sweet berry touch that I get from the other fragrance. Instead, this is a little bit more incensey and woody with lots of amber in the base. Really amazing fragrance. Another underrated gem, because I don't think I've seen anyone speaking about this one. Maybe Gabby from Gabby Loves Perfumes, but this brand is one to check out for sure. They have such a good range of fragrances, but as I've mentioned, this one is definitely my favorite, and I will be reviewing it in a video in the future. But please do let me know if you have tried anything from this house. I would love to hear your feedback. So those were all of the newest fragrances that I've added to my collection. Again, I'm so sorry that they weren't detailed reviews. It was just more of a show and tell, I guess. I know some of you prefer to hear a little bit more on the review side, but I just wanted to share with you some new stuff in my collection. We can have a chat in the comments. I would love to hear which ones you want to hear more about in a future video, but please do let me know, what are your newest fragrances that you've added to your collection? Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure as always. I hope to see you in a future video to come. Thank you and goodbye.